Hey everybody,
exciting,
welcome back to Carwash Magazine Live. I'm your host, as always, Matt DeWolf, Editor-in-Chief of Carwash Magazine. We have got a fantastic conversation coming up for you all right now. So we started this kind of panel last year at the Carwash Show in November, where we wanted to highlight some of the most amazing women in this industry. All right, so joining me today to talk about some really fun topics, we've got right next to me, we've got Dorielle Birnkrant from PetroCal. We've got Jessica Zazworsky from the Bubble Barn. And down at the end, we've got Mayra Chimienti from Mr. Welcome, everybody, to the program. Yeah, there it is. Hey, all right. So I thought it might be interesting at first if we could just get like the elevator version of your all's path to this industry, because I think that's always fascinating places to start because we all come from different places. So let's go first. Let's start reverse order. Myra, why don't you kick us off?
No pressure, elevator. I actually started in the business roughly 20 years ago with a vacuum in my hand, washing cars, which is funny, while going to college, which was a fun part-time job. Also a plug there for the talent that we're trying to recruit. And then fast forward to 2007, Mr. Carwash actually acquired the chain of car washes that I was working for in El Paso, Texas. And then you fast forward to a crazy ride, 2021, we took this wonderful company public, which was fantastic, and then here we are today. So I think for me, what I represent to just our organization, from being able to grow from the bottom all the way up, speaks to just the opportunity that there is in this industry for everybody.
Love it. Let's come right down the line. Jessica, how about you?
Okay, well, I've been a car wash owner-operator since 2020, so open right at the beginning of the pandemic, which was really exciting time to open a business.
Everything's fine.
I know, right? I mean,
fine,
you can scenario plan for everything, and then there's a global pandemic.
Yeah.
But, I was a former, corporate marketing person looking to do something different, and boy, did I get it. But the car wash industry has been so great to me and just a lot of fun. So excited to be here today talking about it.
Excellent. Dorielle, how about you?
I got started in the industry about 10 years ago. I married into it, incidentally, and was working at Live Nation Entertainment at the time, and started helping out at the trade shows, actually, and just giving extra support. And then in 2014, I jumped ship and decided to go all in. I started as an underwriter, underwriting loans for our clients. I just knew I could make a bigger impact there than this huge, clunky organization like Ticketmaster, and kind of work on revamping our website, our brand, our services, and doing everything CMO, COO related.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we've got long time in the industry. Just to recap, everybody, long time in the industry, relative newbie, and someone from the supplier side. So we've got all perspectives coming at you today in this conversation. I want to start with maybe what I think is one of the most important things is how things have changed over time. So again, Myra, we're gonna start at your end and work back to me. So how has, for you, in your time in the industry, being a woman in this industry changed, and what have you seen in that time?
I don't think there's enough time in this segment to actually walk through that, but it has been a crazy ride, I'm not going to lie. Predominantly male industry, very surprising. It's actually nice to see a lot more men in these sessions. There was a point in time when not a lot of them will show up. And some things fundamentally have changed. There's some stuff I think we still have opportunities in as far as how we recognize women in the industry. But, I think a lot of it took people like myself and these individuals here to be able to break through and just believe in what you were bringing to the table. And this industry, I think in the beginning, it was about a lot of it unconscious. I think people assuming that a woman couldn't handle the tough jobs that were part of the car wash industry, when in reality, when you're talking about people, it's pretty simple, right? So I think it has changed in the sense that there's an awareness that the qualities that drive business and customer service, it's good to have just diversity as a whole. It just so happens that some of us women have those natural traits too, right? But it is great, and it has transformed. I'd love to see it continue to grow, and I think the way we can do that is by the support and the partnership of also our male peers here in the crowd. So
I want to talk a little. So Jessica, I want you to speak a little bit to what you've seen in that change in terms of that service side and how that maybe shows up as a new operator in this business. Myra's talking a lot about how there are all these skills that are better suited now. What are you seeing as you employ folks?
Well, I had a lot of trepidation when I kind of started on this journey. What would it be like working in such a male-dominated industry? And I come from corporate marketing. It's a lot of ladies doing that, and so I knew it would be a big change. But overall, I think I felt a lot of excitement from the car wash community. My vendor partners to be working with a female-owned business, and the different spin that I was going to put on that. And I think also for my customers, I see a lot of excitement. They think that's it's cool that they're supporting a local business, that it's owned by a woman. We have a lot of women coming through the wash. I think it gives them a level of comfort to see my face there and know that I'm the face of the Bubble Barn. So overall, like I said, I had concerns about it, but it's been nothing but positive experiences for me throughout my entire journey.
Excellent. Dorielle, for you, you're in a little bit of a different space, right? It's not so much, you're not washing the cars on a day-to-day basis, but talk to me a little bit about what you've seen just in terms of the clients you work with, how they approach it, what you see even in your dealings with them on a financial side, right? How has that shifted for you over your time?
I mean, most of the conversations I have with our clients are with men. It's an extremely male-dominated industry. I can probably count women operators on one hand, and so I'm pretty pumped to see you up here and see that changing and shifting. I would say also from like a corporate perspective, our entire industry is, growing up and maturing, being so fragmented and having so many, private equity companies coming in and our first companies going public. It's just naturally becoming a more professional space. And as you move from having, 30 tunnel employees on staff to having 4 staff who are marketing, customer service, things like this, these are a lot more traditionally female roles and more women entering the space all the time.
Yeah, I think that's right on point in terms of like just all the changes that are happening and the way that the model is shifting, and really a lot about the opportunities that are now available in terms of making it an inclusive workspace, but really thinking about how you can get past some of that unconscious bias as it relates to like male and man and woman biases, right? And they are deep seated in this industry. There's no doubt about that. And Mayra, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because I would love for you to share this a story that you shared when we were preparing for this about one of your folks early on when you were traveling the road, and how they kind of like helped minimize that bias when you would walk into a space and they would assume that you didn't know anything about what was going on at the location. But there was a really good tip, something that we can really take from.
Well, I mean, I think one of the powerful things about this journey is actually talking to your peers, and a lot of times it's not intentional. And I think it's just about opening the door for them to understand some of the challenges, and you'd be surprised that they become your strongest allies. Mm-hmm. For me in particular, I have a colleague of mine that is not here right now currently, Joe Matheny, that as him and I were on the road together, it was a matter of just mutual understanding and telling him, you realize that both of us show up on the site and there's an immediate assumption that you know what you're talking about. Because you're a man, you're in the car wash industry, you automatically know. I said, it takes for me about 30 minutes to start talking for them to realize that I actually know what I'm talking about. And that was early in our careers. And guess what? From then on, every single site visit we went on, he said, hey, you know what? This is Mayra Chimienti. She knows what she's talking about. Don't mess with her. And it created this. It saved me 30 minutes of my time, and we can get right to work. But it's creating that awareness that I think people just assume, oh, it's because I'm a woman, they don't want to talk to me. No, it's a matter of having the conversations, of expressing the real challenges that are out there. And you'd be surprised that those male colleagues become your biggest fans and your biggest allies. I've got one sitting right here in the front row, and several in the rows behind that do become that ally for you and help you advance.
Okay, so I'm going to tread lightly here because...
Don't tread lightly. Let's go. Let's go.
So my wife talks to me a lot about this concept of mental load. And I go about my day pretty blissfully ignorant in this realm, and we've got 3 kids at home, and she does a ton of work, right? She's always planning everything. She's the only reason we ever leave the house. The only reason the kids actually play any sports or do anything. And I just kind of go along, and you can see it sometimes that the stress levels start to creep up, and I don't get it. And I think it took until she started having conversations with me and be like, hey, this is like a thing. Like you need to like think about it and just try to have some perspective. And I think that's a real thing that we don't really consider is that there's a little bit of a difference. And you could say that maybe it's because we're dumb. Most of the time we can be pretty dumb, but it's just different. And we gotta like as men in this industry, I think we really need to focus on understanding where other people are coming from, whether that be women or whether that be people of different races. I think that we really need to like self-reflect a little bit and think about that. So, but I say all that because I want to talk about this concept of mental load and how much of a thing is that in the industry as you're going through things and like as you think about how you plan your day, and then how can others around you be more respectful or more mindful that that's kind of happening, right? So, and Dorielle, I'm gonna put you on the spot here first.
Yeah, sure. I think inherently traditional roles of like a woman taking care of the kids, and a lot of that I think has changed a bit in COVID. Parents getting stuck at home with young children, dad sitting on a work call and 3 kids yelling by, and I think we've all kind of opened our eyes to what does work-life balance really look like? What do life commitments really look like when they're crashing into our business commitments? And how can we be supportive of moms around us, but also families around us, but also individual employees who are single and don't have a family? It's about that life-work balance. And for those of us, owner-operators, COOs, in higher positions, trying to send that down a more realistic approach to how we are working and living so that someone doesn't feel guilty when they have to sneak out at 3 o'clock to pick up a kid who's sick from school. So I think that's what we can be really paying attention to, a little bit more of a flexible, realistic understanding of how we're all living.
Excellent. Jessica, how about you? How does that idea of mental load show up for you?
Well, I mean, obviously mental load is huge for any business owner. And I think, men and women out there, I certainly in the last 6 months have lost a lot of sleep about labor and, all the other, various things going on in the market today. But, where I see that come to pass a lot is my the way I approach my employees and giving them grace as they try to manage their lives. I had an employee and her daughter ended up in the hospital, and, you have to just say, this is your family. They come first, and that's how you take care of your work family. But then also I have male employees that say, well, can't show up today because, mom has the car and, I got to stay with my kids, things like that. So, I think everyone is struggling with that in their own ways, and to give people grace, but then also understand that that's happening to moms and dads out there, and men and women, and making sure that you're not kind of holding someone accountable in a different way because of their gender or their their personal situation.
I was going to say, mental load doesn't discriminate, so it's
Right.
just a matter of being an empathetic leader, and empathy right now
Absolutely.
is very critical in managing any business.
Mayra, I want to go back to you for this next area, because this was something that I think when we were preparing for this was a lot of our conversation, and it was this concept of how do you make your workplace or your organization an attractive place for other women, and how does that actually come to fruition? And you talked a lot about representation. Can you kind of go through that for us?
Well, one, I mean, this is where it's funny, because it shouldn't be whether you want women there. It's, do you want your kid, your daughter, your friend, anybody working there? And whatever environment you provide, you have to look at it through that lens, not just strictly females. Now, if we can help advance the ball, fantastic. But it isn't a matter of just providing a positive space, but representational leadership is important, because there's a sense of comfort. And there is this perception that if you see a woman rising through the ranks, that automatically that barrier is removed. You know that it's a possibility. Who knows how that possibility is, but it is attainable. And this happens across all levels of diversity. It's just being able to find, you almost feel like there's an ally, and you know that it can happen. So when you look at your teams and what you're trying, you are what you attract what you have. So if you have a clean and warm environment in which you provide that space for folks to grow, then it's naturally going to create and attract that talent. Once you get that, it just magnifies. And now when you look at the stores, and I'm proud to say it's something that we've been beating the drum on across all of our locations. And it's now representing really nicely. Are we there 100% there? No, but we're not going to give up because we can see the returns that it provides.
Yeah, Dorielle, how about you? We're gonna skip here, just for fun, just to mix it up. How is that representation concept kind of shown up in your path and what you've seen and what you see in maybe some folks that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, we're a small company. We're 4 or 5 people. I have 3 open jobs right now. And, you know, we had talked about in our prep conversation about that whole like check in the box kind of thing. And I've definitely gone out to market and hoped I would hire a woman, but ultimately I'm doing what I'm sure all of us are doing, which is we're going to hire the best candidate. And so that's where I think representation comes even more into play, because we want to make sure that people are seeing the roles that they can grow into. And what you're doing today, having a panel of women, you know, what Carwash Magazine has done by interviewing professional car wash and detailing is doing a nice series right now on women in leadership. And I had this great conversation with a friend I admire, Katie Vaughn, about women in car washing. And she said something to me I cannot get out of my head, but that 6 years ago when someone interviewed her and you searched women in car washing and click the images, that it was mostly women in bikinis washing cars. And that was just 6 years ago. So today you type in women in car washing and you're going to see your podcast and your wonderful article with that great resignation and, you know, the 13 women crashing the glass ceiling. And so I think that on one hand, we'd like to not have to call out, this is a women's leadership event. We'd like to not call out, this is a women's panel. But at the same time, we also have the responsibility to make sure that people are seeing that there are women in this industry, and that women who have, you know, are just entering the space, they're in their early 20s, they're figuring out what they can do next. It's not as easy as working at a company like PG&E where, oh, you work there 6 months, here are your 3 paths, someone's going to help you with your promotion. Here you have to invest in yourself. You have to have the guts to go say, oh, I want that job. I want to be the director of marketing. You got to go find a director of marketing somewhere and say, how did you do it? What do you think I need? You have to decide, am I going to go take a maintenance course from one of the manufacturing companies, or am I going to go, you know, to a local college and take an extension course on management, so that you are consistently moving forward and deciding where you want to go.
Dorielle, can I add?
Yeah,
because I
absolutely.
think it's very critical to what you said about checking the box. And I think the most dangerous things that people can do is check a box. And trust me, we've had our own journey with this, and I've had managers in the past that say, Mayra's like, we got a manager, she's a woman, you'd be so happy. And then I'm like, is she qualified? Like, but we're gonna get there. I'm like, no, you're doing it wrong. And now there's a difference between being qualified or having somebody and bringing them along. I think many times we put somebody in this role and then you're almost doing it a disservice, because then this person fails, not because they're a woman, because they were not qualified for the job. But then you put them and they're like, oh, see, it's a woman, she didn't cut it for the job. So in anything that we do, whether it's like a diversity thing, a woman, whatever it is that don't check a box. It has to be through merit first, but it should open your eyes to be able to say, who am I perhaps passing up on?
Yeah, that's a great ad. But before I forget, because I'm a little bit engrossed in this conversation, we do have a microphone in the middle. So if anybody has questions that you'd like to ask of the panel, that is available. Just queue up at the microphone, and we will work that in. I'll leave a little bit of time for those if you guys queue up. I would like to say, though, if you are going to go to the microphone, you do have to tell me who you are and what company you're with, so that we know who's asking us these questions. So I want to go into a little bit about this concept of building support systems. So we talk about it a lot as like, how do you create your village? I'm going to start with Jessica, because being newest to the industry, you've probably had the biggest or the most recent experience in having to do this. So talk to me a little bit about how you've built your network, what that looks like, where do you look for kind of inspiration and lean on?
Well, I've done a lot of reflecting on this recently because I'm getting ready to build a second wash, which is really exciting. And, you know, I just think about how different this experience has been, because I do have that network of, you know, people around me that I trust. And, you know, I had that before, but, you know, certainly over the, you know, time period that I've been operating, you know, the first bubble barn, I've grown that. And, you know, you need to have those people to lean on. I think both within the car washing industry and outside of the car washing industry. So my dad is a small business owner, and it's been so great to be able to connect with him in that way. to talk to them about, the challenges and the imposter syndrome and, the leadership questions that you have to kind of have those sounding boards outside of the industry. But, for those of you that are, sitting in the audience that are, maybe thinking about getting into the car washing industry, I think the network of people we have here is just first rate. I've never spoken to someone that hasn't handed me their business card and said, hey, call me with questions. And, I certainly try to pay that forward, as much as possible as well, because people spent, tremendous amounts of time with me answering my very basic questions. And it's a very generous industry, and I don't think that, certainly exists everywhere else. And so making sure that you build on those in-person relationships, the virtual relationships, and then also, the resources like the Carwash magazine are coming to the show, things like that, just helping to build your expertise. For me, those things were incredibly important, especially opening during what ended up being a really super challenging time. I had to build that network fast, right? Because, I wasn't prepared. What do you do when you have to lay off 100% of your workers and you're closed for a month? How do you bring those people back? Are you opening your vacuums up? Think about what April 2020 looked like. Are we okay touching vacuums that other people have touched? They're outside. Maybe it's okay. I don't know. And, you need those people to talk to and, bounce ideas off of so that you can create something bigger than just your own little bubble and microcosm.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. We're going to go to Mayra down in the end. I want to know similarly, same question. Talk to me about how you've kind of built your network and your support systems.
My goodness. Conversation at a time, honestly. And honestly, to me, my journey, it has been about just bringing people along and then asking questions and being able to share. And I think you'd find that we're all human. We all have similar challenges. We all just expose them very differently. So you can break down those barriers. And you're right, this industry is very open and sharing. And it's really actually hard for us right now in our current universe that we can't share a whole lot, which is, unfortunate because we were used to reciprocating. But it is a great industry. I think to me, it's just willing to continue to make those connections, but it is about the two-way street as well.
Yeah. Dorielle, how about you? As you think about your network and your village, how do you build that?
My parents are also entrepreneurs, 2 immigrants who came over and ended up in the home security and automation industry. And so I just had a really great example of aggressive determination and never be afraid to ask a question. And so when I entered the industry, I didn't know anything. So it was the same, let me ask these basic questions and not be afraid to ask them, and join any organizations I could, Western Car Wash Association, ICA. When we first started talking about the women's leadership group, PetroCal Associates, founding members, I jumped on in. So whether it was a women's group or non-gender related group, I try to stay abreast of things by exposing myself to different places. And then, taking the opportunity to reconnect in person whenever you can. Different women I've met in the industry. 3 today stopped by my booth who I met at our first event in Chicago. And so staying in touch with people, checking in with people, I think that's really big. And I too have some role models I look to and mentors I look to outside of the industry so that I can talk about that business management side of the industry when I'm coming from what we do for the real estate and financing.
Yeah. I'm just giving a peek. If you all aren't going to ask any more questions, I got one more I'm going to ask. So we're getting short on our time, but there's one thing. If I could stop leaning forward into the speakers, we'd be fine. There's one more thing I want to know from you all, and this one's easy. This one's really easy. So I always like to ask folks, what's one thing we can do today to be better tomorrow? So I'm going to talk for just 10 seconds so you guys can think about this for a minute, because I don't think you were necessarily ready for this question. That means we're going to do some Plinko in a little bit here. Are you guys ready yet?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So one thing. Let's go reverse order. We'll go Dorielle down the line. One thing that we can do today to be better tomorrow.
Specifically related to women in car wash?
No. I should quantify this here or clarify. You can take this any way you want to go. This could be read. I said this earlier. This could be read more books. It could be I want to see all the movies that come out on Netflix. Whatever you think it is, right? So what's one thing that I can do today to be better tomorrow? Or we can do?
Oh my gosh. go the other way.
Mayra, would you like to start us off?
Honestly, not lose sight of the people and the investments and the development of people. We can get very caught up in just growing to grow, but you need people to grow and to really build something beautiful. And I think sometimes in the hustle, we can all get caught up in our day-to-day, but sometimes slowing down and taking the time to develop someone, to train them, to bring them along, we can't lose sight of that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Jessica, how about you?
You know, I was going to say something.
See, that's the
Dorielle,
beauty of
you can
going
say that
first.
too.
Yeah, that's why you go first. Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
I think, in the sessions this morning, you heard the same thing. It's all about investing in your people, and I think that pays the biggest dividends going forward, because that's a great face for the brand. You have happy customers. That's how you grow your business, and it just, is this virtuous circle that keeps on giving back. And so, I know when I go home what I will be focusing on.
Excellent. Excellent. Dorielle, this is your mic drop moment.
Okay, all right. It's going to sound exactly the same, because what I think about is the fact that I'm looking for people, and I'm running into this whole, we're in the time of the Great Resignation, and I'm talking to so many companies who can't seem to find that right staff, and then I'm talking to so many candidates who I don't want to hire, who can't find the right position and have been out there for 3 months. And so I really do think that it all comes to culture and people and investment, and especially because not every employee knows what they want to do next. Not every employee knows what to ask for or what's that path. We do bi-weekly one-on-ones with each staff member, and we just bring a basic kind of template on wins and losses and questions and interests, so that we can tackle short and long-term goals, both for the individual person and for the role that they're in. And I think that, that kind of presence, a couple times a month is just making sure that everyone is happy with themselves and happy with what we're doing together as a team.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's great stuff. I'm going to add one. I'm going to add my one thing. One thing we can do today to be better tomorrow is to self-reflect, so that we are open to these kinds of conversations. Because I think it's so amazing that we're able to sit up here and we're able to have this open conversation about women in the industry, about what that path looks like, about how we find success, about how we all lift each other up in this moment. So I just want to say thank you so much for you all for being on this panel and being able to share your story a little bit. Big round of applause,
Thank
please.
you. Thanks so much for having us.
You said there was no questions.
I know.
You guys are too intimidating.
We're the hardballs.
Yeah, you guys are too intimidating. Yeah.